our session this morning. This session is co-organized by the World Rural Forum and Pula Advisors. And just to give you a little bit of background, we will hear from Pula in just a few minutes. The World Rural Forum is a global network of family farming organizations who collectively represent over 75 million family farmers across 90 countries. We are advocating for the recognition of family farming and climate action, better policies for family farmers, and increasing the access to climate finance. So I think this partnership that we have today will be very, very insightful to the work that we do. So before we dive in, I want to introduce and acknowledge our remarkable speakers this morning. I think we have an extraordinary group that represents the whole spectrum of adaptation leadership, from family farmers organizations who are leading change on the ground to government partners and private innovators. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm just going to do a very quick introduction of the people that we have here in the panel. We have Ms. Diane Sebanda. Diane. She's the chairperson of the Eastern and Southern Africa Farmers Forum, ESAF. And well, Diane is a champion of farmer empowerment who focuses a lot on women and youth inclusion. Then we have Ms. Barbara Tommy. She's from Papua New Guinea. She works in P&G in agriculture development, and she's a STEAM member of the Pacific Farmers Organization. We also have Dr. Max Chumbi, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock in Zambia. Thank you for joining us this morning. We also have Matthias Berninger, Executive Vice President of Public Government Affairs and Head of Sustainability at Bayer. And we have finally Ms. Joyce Mlewa, Commercial Director at Pula Advisor, who's driving the 10 Million Resilient Farmers initiatives that we will just hear from just now. We are gathered here today because the evidence is clear, because family farmers are leading the change, the partnerships are happening, and we need to scale this to a global level to achieve some of the goals that we are discussing here at COP30. So let me just begin asking Mr. Matthias to share your insights on how catalytic philanthropy can accelerate climate adaptation and support farmer-led solutions at scale. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, and also thank you for having me. We feel that the topic of climate adaptation needs to be like tightly connected to the reality on the ground for the smallholder farms we are talking about here. I think many of you know how important the contribution of smallholder farmers to food security in Southeast Asia, but also in Africa is. The bulk of food security is the delivery of smallholder farming communities. Like on this podium, the majority of the smallholder farmers are women, something also very often overlooked. And from that vantage point, I think it's very helpful to look at this question through the lens of these women. Bayer does business with roughly 60 million smallholder farmers around the world. Our goal is to have a business relationship with 100 million smallholder farmers by end of the decade. And there are lots of challenges in developing these partnerships. A precondition for smallholder farmers to escape poverty, to move away from the brink of extreme poverty, is that they have access to the tools that farming communities in other parts of the world take for granted. And in reality, we know that for a very long time, and yet the access is not there at this point in time. At Bayer, we work on agricultural inputs. You would find us at the forefront of digital solutions. We are leading in biology when it comes to seeds across a wide variety of crops that also are relevant for these communities. We even work on crops that sometimes are called orphan crops, but I think they don't really, the term really doesn't reflect what these crops are. We work on crops that are very familiar to smallholder farmers and not so familiar to farmers in the northern hemisphere. And lots of them are really at the backbone of nutrition. We also work, of course, in the crop protection space without crop protections, the risk of total crop loss often increases dramatically, especially in climates that are less tempered. So from that vantage point, we work on a lot of really exciting things. But a few years ago, I started to toe dip into an area that I find more exciting than everything we work on. And that is the space of crop insurance for smallholder farmers. Joyce will talk about it. I promise I will not steal your thunder, but I can't hide my excitement. I can't hide my excitement. Um, the one thing that crop insurance adds to this whole game is what I would call peace of mind. It takes away the pressure of smaller farmers. A smaller farmer does not need to bet their whole existence on the next harvest, which is the reality not for thousands, not for 100,000s, but for millions of farmers around the world. And many of us talking about that would hardly ever bet our whole existence or one or two or three cropping decisions without feeling uncomfortable. I think most of us wouldn't ever do that. And we have so many people who are forced to do it. So once we realize how exciting crop insurance for smallholder farmers is, and once we realize that in other parts of the world we take crop insurance for granted, in the United States, here in Brazil, in Europe, in China, of course farmers can rely on crop insurance. Of course their investments are de-risked, but for the majority of farmers that's not the case today. So once we realized how exciting that is, we decided to partner with Pula. We toe-dipped with thousands of farmers, then 100,000s, and are now in the space of millions. Our goal is to reach 10 million smallholder farmers with Pula products and our partnership by the end of the year, by the end of the decade. By the end of the year, in many parts of the where we are working, we already reach a million scale. So this is moving fast. It's working. Joyce, I'm sure will also talk about that crop insurance pays out. But I want to give you one figure in closing. So we as a Bayer Foundation in total will invest $10 million dollars into this partnership. But what it mobilizes in catalytic funding is a total sum of $127 million. So the leverage factor is more than 12. And I think that's another really cool thing, that when you invest in crop insurance for smallholders and when you do it right, you can crowd in the traditional, very capital-rich insurance business in ways that make sense for them, in ways that is good business for them, which is why we are also able to leverage such an amount. So we are not talking about benefits that we try to monetize. We are talking about real money flowing into the system. And that's one of the many reasons why I'm quite excited about this, and why I hope that at this COP, the adaptation agenda fully includes crop insurance for smallholders as a major contribution to adaptation, and why I hope we can crowd in even more money, the famous climate adaptation funds that are promised, but somehow nobody finds them here. I haven't found them, but I know where to put the money, and that is probably a good segue into what Joyce has to share with you.
Thank you, Matthias, for that intervention. And yes, it was a perfect leeway into Joyce's presentation now, who will talk us through the 10 Million Resilient Farmers Initiative. Hope I've said that right. Demonstrating how technology, distribution partnerships, and innovative financing can scale farmer-driven solutions. So Joyce, please, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Matthias. I'm happy to know that I've got a champion for insurance. The smallholder farmers in Africa are not forgotten. They're being talked about at such platforms as this one. Thank you so much, Matthias. Zambia has a proof of concept for insurance. I'm sitting next to a farmer that insurance does pay. So how has Zambia done it? The government of Zambia has a program, a very big input subsidy program, which covers over 1 million smallholder farmers. That's just a third of the farmers that the smallholder farmers that the government have in their database. And the government has been supporting these smallholder farmers with inputs since 2000, I think. But about 7, 8 years ago, the government decided to start de-risking this investment that they were making into the smallholder farmers. So Pula started working with government about 7 years ago. We are an insurtech company. We design insurance solutions for these smallholder farmers because traditional insurance will not cater for them. It will be too expensive for these smallholder farmers to be able to take up that insurance. So it works best when we embed it on something. So in Zambia, insurance has been embedded on the inputs that the government give to these smallholder farmers. So that way, we are able to, through the technology that we leverage, we use a lot of technology. The product that is a parametric insurance product using technology to reach out to the farmers in as much as we also go out in the field to engage with farmers, to educate farmers. They also need to understand the importance of insurance and what insurance can do for them. So we are also able to do that, go and meet. We've been doing that for years, meeting with some farmers, also giving e education, sensitization on insurance. Without technology, would not be able to reach the millions of smallholder farmers. In Zambia alone, we've been able to reach out to more than 1 million smallholder farmers for the last 6 years annually. I think, as you may know, we had a very bad season. Zambia only has one cropping season towards the end of the year, the last quarter of the year and the first quarter of the year. So our farmers only have one paycheck. If they miss out on that season, if the crop is destroyed by climate change, if there's drought, too much water, that's it for these farmers. So because of that, we had a huge payout, which Matthias has alluded to. For the 1 million farmers, it was over 31 million US dollars. That was huge. This payout is helping farmers to be more resilient. They're able to invest back in the field because to access this input subsidy, they have to also pay something to the government. So from that, part of that payout was used to access another input pack for the following season. So it's very important that the governments work with the private sector. We need even to scale because they have the numbers, they have the social responsibility to ensure that these farmers that contribute a lot to the GDP, that create agriculture is one of the biggest employers in Zambia, are also supported in de-risking. So the government has partnered with several insurance companies to be able to support the smallholder farmers, also to de-risk their investment. Not only has government partnered with us, we also have the support of the international NGOs, international development partners, partners such as the Bear Foundation, that have also allowed us to have a premium subsidy for these same smallholder farmers so that we can catalyze the uptake of insurance. We have more farmers taking up insurance. I'm sure Dr. Max will talk about the gap that is still there. And that is why we are excited to even talk about the 10 million farmer resilient program, because we have the numbers, the farmers that are underserved with regard to insurance for them. So my time is up?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, a little bit. Okay, thank you so much. I just want to also add that for governments, I was hoping that I would have government representatives here. It's very important that they take the lead in trying to also create an enabling environment. Zambia has created an environment that has allowed for insurance uptake for smallholder farmers. And also leverage the partnership with the private sector such as insurance companies, reinsurers, and the donors to support the farmers that maybe get credit from banks or finance institutions, or indeed farmers that get inputs paid for by the treasury. So we are looking forward to reaching the 10 million number. 4 million should come from Zambia. We are looking for another maybe 3 million from Nigeria. So already it's been mapped up. Botswana, we are also working in Botswana. She's 6 million from ISAF. Thank you there. So we are also working in Botswana. We've embedded insurance on the loans from SIDA. Yes, it's there's also parametric insurance to de-risk the farmers in Botswana as well, and also to de-risk the government investment in these smallholder farmers. Yeah.
Thank you, Joyce, for that introduction to the project that our partners in Pula are doing. Now, to continue with this framing of the situation on adaptation, we're going to hear two experiences from two different perspectives. First, we're going to have the government of Zambia speaking about how their national leadership is bringing this partnership to success. And then we're going to listen also from a very important part of the equation, which is the farmers' organization. So we're going to be listening from Ms. Diane, who is covering the East Africa region. So, Dr. Max, can I hand over to you now, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Joyce has said quite a lot about what we are doing in Zambia. Zambia has about 4.5 million crop farmers. Amongst those, 1 million are covered in the insurance. We still have 3.5 we are not covered in insurance. And adding to the other dimension is we are only insuring the crop. We want also to start insuring the livestock because they are all affected by the drought that we have experienced in the country. We have more than 5.4 million livestock or cattle in Zambia, which we need to leverage on because we have a program where we are trying to export beef to our neighboring countries. But for us to do that, we need to do a few steps that will help us export our beef. And we are targeting the beef worth about $1 billion in 3 years. So we want to appeal that we, as Zambia, we have enabling policies that allows insurance to thrive, and also we encourage partnership with the private sector. As you have heard from Joyce, we started the insurance on a pilot basis for the crops, but now it is 1 million farmers. It's not a mean achievement, and we want to grow it bigger where we cover the livestock sector. And how do we cover the livestock sector? We want to do it in a digitized way because the crop farmers that are under insurance are all digitized. The livestock farmers which are not yet under insurance, we're just piloting in a few areas, are not yet digitized, and we want to digitize those farmers. And my appeal is that we need to collaborate with the private sector for us to digitize the farmers, and it will be easy for them to follow up on the insurance. And if we did that, we'll be able to trace their diseases, the burdens, we'll be able to trace how they are trading, we'll be able to trace how each farmer is performing in the other areas of genetic improvements and many others. And we want to appeal to Pula and the other partners that as we want to digitize, we need to be future focused. By maybe after these meetings that we are talking about today, we can forge partnership with the Pula. We start maybe having a joint technical group, working group, just to finalize on the livestock insurance, because that is now my main area of concern, the livestock insurance, because our target is $1 billion export. So without digitizing, without insurance, we will not achieve what we want. Because like I've already said, when we have the drought, it does not just affect. We have 60% of our farmers that keep livestock in our country. So when there is drought, when there are floods, we have been affected as livestock farmers. So insurance is the way to go to de-risk the sector by allowing insurance to thrive also like it has thrived in the crop sector. Now, what we do, we want to partner with the puller. We need to have a technical working group between us and the private sector. We need also to invite other members that can come on board. We are free to collaboration because that is what we are doing, because it is under our policy, government policy, that we partner with the private sector. If you look at most of the activities that we are successful in Zambia, it's because we have partnered with the private sector. We are not competing with any private sector. We are just partnering. So let's come on board. And once we do that, we'll be able to achieve what we want to achieve as a government. I thank you for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chombi. Now we are going to hear from Ms. Diane Sibanda, who will share the perspectives from the farmers' organizations. How are you leading climate adaptation? What are the solutions that you are bringing to the table, and how can those be better valued to get more support that is very much needed in your region? Please, Diane.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me. Farmers are the front line leaders of climate change. And we need to promote policies like practices like agroforestry, conservation agriculture, and precision farming. This sounds easy for someone who knows, but for the small scale farmers, it's a mountain to climb. Because for now, the policies that we have, the processes that we have through government is conventional tilling. And in the space of climate change, we definitely need conservation agriculture, because we've seen it in the neighboring countries when we are benchmarking, like Zambia is doing well. I'm glad they're here. And South Africa is doing well with conservation agriculture. But the other areas, we are just on conventional, because that's where we get subsidy through governments, like the East part, free tilling, free fertilizers, and that's not enough. We need to go this route, like precision farming. The first time I heard about it, to me, it was Greek. We had gone for the learning journey in Germany, and they were talking precision farming, and I was like, oh, these are big guys. Now they are talking Greek to us. And when it was explained to us, we realized that this is the way to go for smallholder farmers. And this is the time when smallholder farmers needs to be handheld and to do the right thing, because it's about time we we don't just call ourselves smallholder farmers. We are business farmers, because the majority of farmers are smallholder farmers. In Africa is about 80, the composition is about 65 to 80% of smallholder farmers. And that's a large constituency that has to be taken care of. And we have to promote timely climate, or early warning, because what's happening is we are left behind when it comes to climate change activities. We've seen cases whereby the regional office will actually hire a consultant to train the farmers on climate change as an entity, like early warning to our other colleagues from the environment. To them, it's just their system. They met people, it's just them. And they forget that the end users are the farmers. So what we've realized, even in the meetings, they look at farmers like it's another world. The farmers are not their partners. And you know, it's worrisome. And sometimes I'll be very blunt, it's annoying because the end users are always left behind. And we always have to fight the system for the recognition of smallholder farmers. And that's not enough. That's not fair. We shouldn't be fighting the system because we feed the nation. We are the people, we are the majority, and we have to be taken seriously. And what's the point of fighting? And we can't fight forever. And this is the time that fighting stops. This is the time when the smallholder farmers are taken seriously. This is the time when the smallholder farmers are recognized as the partners of climate change. Access to affordable financing, like what my colleagues rightfully said. You'll find that insurance. I'm glad she's now partnering with SEDA because insurance has been like something out of the world for the smallholder farmers. I'll give an example. I once insured with a private entity. They kicked me out because they were like, I'm risky. Um, because my greenhouses were always, they were always flown away. The plastics, they were always being blown away by the wind because I'm behind the hill, and that's not my fault. I have a farm there, and it's an effective farm. And they kicked me out to say, no, you can't be claiming every year. And I was like, okay. I gave up. I had to struggle because at the end of the day, we struggle. I always tell people that to be a farmer, you have to possess the 3 P's, which is passion, perseverance, and just forgot the third one, and just being there. So if you are not passionate about farming as a smallholder farmer, you can't be a farmer. You are out. You are out of the system. Then if you are passionate, you fall and you wake up and you smile and you are like, oh, okay, I'm going back to the system. So you see, and we can't, and for the youth, they can't smile and fall and go back like us because they have to make money. And they have to make money. They don't have anything to fall back on. We've had our days. So farming to us now is our livelihood. And farming to us, we take it like we cannot do without farming. And that keeps us going. And access to, we need support. Support in training. Support in training, because if you train the lead farmers, if you train the champion farmers, they will definitely train thousands of other farmers. And if the lead farmers and the champion farmers are not in the radar, then we are lost. We've lost the game. Because if you train 2 lead farmers, they lead maybe 40, 50 to 100 other farmers around them, because farmers believe in them, in the other farmers. They believe in their leaders. And because they think they think the leaders know everything. So if you train the champion, the lead farmers, you've trained the community. So why is this important? Farmers are on the front line of climate change. So building resilience supports food systems, sustainable livelihoods, and account community stability, because the farmers are in their communities, and the farmers, if they feed their communities, they embrace the stability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane, for that very insightful presentation on what our farming organization is doing. So now we're going to move into the panel discussion, where we're going to be listening to different perspectives to some specific questions. But I want The first question of this panel is to bring the diversity from a different region. We've been hearing what is happening in Zambia, in East Africa. We have here with us Ms. Barbara Tommy, arrived from Papua New Guinea last night, and she's going to bring the Pacific leadership's perspective. So Barbara, I'd be very grateful if you could share with us the examples of farmer-led adaptation in Papua New Guinea, in the Pacific region, the work that you do within the partnership that you have of the Pacific Farmers Organizations, and specifically about the leadership that women are playing in your project. So please, over to you.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about farming in the Pacific region. I come from Papua New Guinea. My group is the PNG, or Papua New Guinea Women in Agricultural Development Foundation. It was created to be a mouthpiece for women farmers in PNG. And we see the work that we're doing, it's in families, and families involve women, husbands, and their children. So we've branched out to include youths in our activities. We are part of the Pacific Farmer Organizations, and that has brought us to this to come together in this COP30 this year. One of the projects that we are implementing in the Pacific is climate resilient farming, and this particular project is in 7 Pacific islands, and PNG is one of them. I would say in the PNG perspective, it is the first kind of project that is engaging with grassroots farmers that are in the villages, in the rural areas, because we have a different level of farmers. You know, we have the agribusinesses, and then you have some commercial farmers, but this one links people that are whose daily livelihoods depend on farming, not necessarily as a business. Those that have grown wings and are strong, yes, they're going into agribusinesses, but many, for PNG, between 80 to 85% of Papua New Guinea depend on agriculture, depend on farming. So this particular project has enabled us to work with rural farmers, looking at their adaptation issues. And we're working mainly with, we're targeting women, because women are the main people that are behind farming in families, and young people. To carry on farming into the next generation, we need to engage with young men and young women. So the challenges we see, the challenge that we faced or we see in that project and have is with climate change. Climate change now is the biggest threat in our farming system. I mean, because it affects our food security. Farmers in the Pacific are facing rising sea levels, higher temperature, erratic rainfall patterns, floods, and landslides. PNG and some of the islands in the Pacific are in the Pacific Ring of Fire. So we have constant earthquakes, and that adds pressure to our infrastructure. We contribute little to the global emissions that we're facing, yet we face some of the worst effects of climate change. So what are we doing about it? Rural farmers are not waiting for outside help. We are setting local solutions to what we are already doing, using our traditional knowledge, combining that with modern science to adapt and protect our livelihoods. Key strategies that we are using is agroforestry, planting trees with fruit crops, and the trees are mainly local variety of trees, even food trees that produce fruit and food as well. We're considering contour farming and for soil conservation, using vetiver grass, composting, and mulching. We're considering water harvesting for household
and garden use, and using climate resilient crops. We're partnering with agriculture agencies who are already multiplying these crops that are drought resistant or soil tolerant. And we're working to empower women farmers, building their capacity and leadership, and reducing and applying some strategies that reduces time poverty so they can fully participate. So our vision is a food secure Pacific where farming families have the tools, the knowledge, and networks to survive and thrive in a changing climate. We want Pacific farmers to be a global model of resilience and innovation. What we need, farmer organizations in PNG and also in the Pacific, we need the support from this start, from this small project. We need the support to replicate this, to duplicate it. We're targeting little communities, but we need to spread that out to other islands, to our other communities. Because like I said, we have 85% of our population, and probably this project is only targeting 10%. We need to reach out to the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Although a very different region, you could see that there's a pattern of the needs and there's a pattern of what smallholder farmers are clearly stating that should be provided in this global partnership that is tackling and addressing climate change. It is a work that we all do together, and that, you know, that the patterns are there, the partnerships and the organizations are here to work. So we've heard from very different perspectives right now, and I'd like to ask Dr. Max, we've heard what the farmers organizations are doing in terms of getting ready. And so the question is, how can governments such as Zambian government do to better support and scale farmer-led solutions, some of which we've heard from Diane this morning, while ensuring that the policy frameworks that you're working on serve both national targets and farmer priorities? So over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. Like I already said, that government has already put in place policies that allows private sector to thrive, and the private sector also work together with the small scale farmers. And ours, we have made it a policy that we allow the private sector to do most of the work. Government creates policies that are executed by both government and the private sector. We have a saying in Zambia where I said, Zambia has no business in doing business. We don't do business as a government. We want the private sector to do business so that they help what we want to achieve as government in the overall. So when we talk about all these insurance, we want the private sector to do the insurance, not government. And therefore, we have policies that allow the private sector to do insurance to the small scale farmers. And the small scale farmers are very responsive to the insurance, especially through a targeted program like the Farmer Input Program. And that's why we are now talking about going further to insuring also the livestock sector, so that we de-risk the sector also out of because the climate change has affected the livestock sector in diseases, also pasture and water. So if we have those insured, we'll be very, very happy as government. I hope I have answered what you wanted me to say.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to Matthias. You mentioned in your first intervention about this, how your investment has leveraged more. I'd like to just expand a little bit on what would you see as the next step? What frameworks do partners in the private sector or partners that wish to expand this support? What do you think is needed to reach that scale at a faster level and that would also prove to be sustainable over time, so that we're not at this first stage of a project, but we can actually turn this into a sustainable way of having agriculture in smallholder and family farms. Please, over to you.
Yeah, so let me start with the most important thing. And Diane talked about it already. Yeah, so when you have insurance and you run into problems, can you trust the insurance to actually pay? Yeah. If we break that trust, if we can't keep that promise, then the whole model of crop insurance for smallholder farmers will be stopped in its tracks. It will fall apart. It will become a laughing stock. And news about that will spread faster than what you can do with modern technology. So the most important thing is that the crop insurance schemes actually deliver. And Joyce, you haven't mentioned that, but I think it's worth mentioning. When drought hits Zambia in a way that farmers haven't experienced before, Pula organized the highest ever payout in Africa that we have seen in insurance in that space. So Pula has delivered. I've seen it on smaller scale in Ethiopia as well, where community were affected by even things like hailstorms. Who would have thought that hailstorms will be a big deal in Ethiopia? But Pula has delivered. They have paid out. So that's point number one. Point number two for me, also a very important point, is um, we need to build trust by providing the experience before farmers actually have paid. So what I mean with that is, and that's how we work, we will not be able to pay these premiums forever. We are a foundation. We don't have unlimited resources. What we can do is we can start paying the premiums so that farmers get used to peace of mind. And after that, they are willing to do that. So the negotiations, for example, in Ethiopia are, you have to pay the value of a quarter of a chicken, but you can insure the value of a living grown-up goat. That is something smallholder farmers understand, and that's a bargain they will make. So really important that we make that happen. What I believe is another very important part of scale, and I mention it, I want to repeat it because it's happening here at this COP. Crop insurance for smallholders needs to be at the center of the climate adaptation agenda. We only talk about climate adaptation since Sharm el-Sheikh. So even in Glasgow at COP26, adaptation wasn't even a part of COP. Then in Sharm el-Sheikh, it started to be on the agenda. We have been working on it. Now they are talking about 100 KPIs, 100 data points countries should look at. And boy, we have to make sure that smallholder farmers are in the center of it and that things like crop insurance are delivering against those KPIs. So that's crucial because that's the way to mobilize additional financing out of climate adaptation. As I said before, I haven't found the money yet, but when somebody finds the money, we need to be ready to say, hey, this is something that works. This is an area where we can make a huge difference quickly at scale. And let me add one more point that I observed when I got to know this whole world of crop insurance that is often untold. Crop insurance works, but it's also a major employer for young people, for educated and technology savvy people in rural areas. We want to keep youth. We want to keep these people in rural areas. We don't want all of them to move into cities. And what crop insurance does on top of everything we talked about is it creates jobs for young people that are sought after in rural communities. When you talk to these people, you realize how proud they are about these jobs and how much it helps them to make their own living. Half of Africa is aged below 19 years. We need to create hundreds of thousands, millions of jobs. And the job engine that Pula also provides and many other players in your ecosystem, Joyce, is something we shouldn't shy away from also talking proudly about.
Thank you very much, Matthias. Very interesting point about creating jobs and how this conversation is also relevant to what's happening at COP. And I know I'm jumping a little bit around, but I wanted to ensure that we are having a little bit of a conversation here and I'll follow like the strict script. So we still have 3 more questions and 3 more panelists to go before the closing. But I want to ask Diane quickly. So you are a member of World Rural Forum and we work together very closely to ensure that farmers' voices are heard in the negotiations. And Matthias here has raised the global goal on adaptation, what's going to be decided in these days. So can you offer us a message of what success would look like from the family farming organization's perspective in adaptation? What would we like to see as a good result?
Yes. No, would like to say.
Could you please hold it a little bit closer so that they can, do the, thank you very much.
Um, would like to see them empowered farmers, especially the family farmers, because like we normally say, farmers are not the problem, they are the solution. So, and if the farmers are taken seriously and the actionable resolution embedded in their daily work, then we'll see the updated and capacitated farmers, because you see, it's very important that we have farmers who are not just farmers by name, but who are employers, who are feeding their families, and who are feeding the communities. So adaptation really I will take the farmers to that level of feeding the communities where they live, because without farmers, the communities can't thrive. Thank you.
Very, very thankful for that message, Diane. And I'm going to move very quickly again, Barbara, from your perspective in the Pacific as well. What would you just one headline of what would you see is important under this discussion around insurance, around policy that you'd like to see from your perspective?
Thank you. In terms of the Pacific, I think it needs, farmer organizations need direct access to financing. Like some of the adaptation that some of the Pacific Islands are doing is saving schemes, or micro saving schemes within their own groups. So we have the capacity to be able to get our financing, but it needs a bigger support, a funding mechanism for these schemes for farmers to access. Because at the moment, there's no such financing schemes where farmers can really go through and access funds. There's so much administrative requirements that they have to meet. We need schemes that are directly for farmers and that are less, less requirements that they need to fulfill. And also it's directed to farmers. If it needs organizations having their own microfinancing schemes that the farmers can access from. So that is something that I think would be something that for the Pacific would need greatly. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely something that could be scaled really. If you have already a mechanism at the community level that is trusted, it's just looking at it and see how that can work for the partnerships. And Joyce, I think it will lead us very well after into the conclusions. We have about 10 minutes, but I also see that someone from our from the audience wants to ask a question. So I'm going to ask you first a question. You can answer. We'll do this, and then the conclusions. Is that okay? So Joyce, you talked about the 10 Million Farmers Initiative project, and you've heard also all of the perspectives from different parts of the adaptation leadership spectrum. So can you tell us what have been the most important lessons in ensuring that these partnerships are delivering for farmers, are ensuring that governments are engaged? What would be your, I don't know, 2 or 3 top insights into what you have learned through this initiative?
Okay, thank you. I think I cannot overemphasize correct policy environment. That just has to be in place, so that even when we get support from partners, it will be able to deliver. Secondly, I think the issue, another lesson, a question has already come about sustainability. We cannot overlook the fact that all these initiatives we're doing need to be sustainable. Yeah, and thirdly, I think it's also engagement. I've just heard from the farmer. She's really emphasized the point of engaging also with the farmers to make them understand, to make them appreciate insurance, and that way we can have sustainability. So what's important for us, I think one of the lessons is sustainability. We'll sit here, we'll look for funds, we'll look for support. If we do not have a sustainability plan, then that is it will be wasted effort. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joyce. So I think we do have time for Chico. If you want to ask a question, yeah, please do. I'm gonna give you my mic.
Thank you so much for this really informative panel discussion. It's really been great. I just had 2 questions, one from Madam Diane. So in your experiences throughout this scope, we've been hearing that women and youth-led organizations receive less than 5% of climate financing overall. So throughout the COP process, we've been hearing that women and youth-led organizations receive less than 5% climate financing overall. From your experiences, what structural changes would you like to see happen to enable women and youth to access more climate financing? So that's the question I would have for Madam Diane. And for the PS, that was a great presentation. Especially the fact that government is creating a conducive policy environment for agriculture and livestock. From your perspective, I just wanted you to, is it possible for you to outline 3 key areas where you think the private sector can come in, which will have a great return on investment and enable government to achieve its mandate? So I think those are the questions I have.
Please, Diane.
For women, we'll need structured initiatives because, as you know, in farming, women are always behind. It's only a few women who are very strong who will be be in the leadership. Most of the time, women are on the background. They are just the voters, or they are just there to make tea for in the boardrooms, or be the laborers. We are still having a problem in Africa. We're still having a few women in the leadership, and you really have to have a thick skin to be in the leadership. I'm talking from experience. If you don't have a thick skin, you'll be kicked out by your counterpart, male counterpart. So yes, so those structures we really need the structures. And the structures, I don't mean women being like spoon-fed, but training again, training to, to know that, I mean, they have to be there and not by default. They have to be there because they add value. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, Chico, for that question. The area of investment that private sector can come in, like I've said, the first one is insurance. The second one is genetic improvement. That requires, I think, even under the seed for crops, genetic improvement is a technology that needs to be promoted by the private sector. We have a lot of animals locally bred, but we want to improve their stature. And we want to invite the private sector to come in to improve the genetic improvement. Then the other area is on the traceability and identification program for animals. That will help us fight diseases, by knowing the movements of these animals from one area to the other, because there are red zones in Zambia where you can't move animals from one area to the other. So the traceability and the animal identification program needs an external hand through partnership that can help us. Then the final one is through the range management. Range management, I can confess that we are importing as far as from here, Brazil, the seed for the pasture. So we want to also invite the private sector to come and establish themselves in the range management so that we improve the nutrition. And once we do that, we'll be able to control the diseases. We'll be able to improve on the calving rates. We'll also be able to reduce on the mortality for animals in Zambia, so that as we export, we are exporting and the numbers will not just dwindle because of the poor calving rate and also the mortality. I think basically that's what we want private sector to come in Zambia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Max. Joyce, I'm going to hand over to you so you can give us some closing remarks. Unfortunately, we are a little bit over time, so can I ask you to be brief and sweet before we need to vacate the room for the next event? So please, over to you.
Thank you very much. This is a very, very important forum. It's speaking to the issues that the millions of smallholder farmers are facing in the continent of Africa, and how the private sector is also supporting that process through helping to make farmers more resilient to climate change, and also through creating employment, because the product that Pula has does actually employ youths to do the loss assessment. And it's a product that is now being proved. It has been proven by the Zambian government that it pays. I just want to mention that even in our first year in Botswana, there's been a payout. In as much as it was a good season, there's been a payout. The product that the innovations from the private sector to embrace everybody. We do not want to leave anyone unserviced, underserved with regard to insurance. So we keep innovating. We keep engaging with the farmers, with the government, with our funders to ensure that we have products that will respond to all our smallholder farmers. Pula is in the space of working with smallholder farmers, continually innovating products that will encompass and embrace smallholder farmers. Let me just reiterate that through the Pula product, there's a 1 billion kwacha payout that was made to the farmers in Zambia. 1 billion is like $40 million, because I'm just talking about the Farmer Input Support Program, but there's many other farmers that also received a payout. So the concept of insurance for smallholder farmers has been proved in the Zambian market that it does pay. I also just want to give credence to the government of Zambia. They are leaders in ensuring that smallholder farmers are climate resilient. The government has been paying premiums for farmers for years now, and for sure, when that disaster of the drought hit, money is moved into the treasury to support the farmers and to support other government initiatives. So thank you very much. Thank you, Matthias, for the support that you are doing, for the passion that you have for the smallholder farmers. We found a true partner in Bayer. We are very passionate about farmers, and just look at the panel. It's about women. I get very excited. Just look at the balance of the panel. We are the ones in the front line. We are the most affected because of climate change. So it's good that we have this visibility at COP, at this global forum, just to talk about what happens to the smallholder farmers. We'll keep innovating. We'll keep embracing smallholder farmers. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak about the smallholder farmers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that closing, Joyce. Now I'm going to move into here before I just give the final thank yous, so it's a little bit more formal. Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge our partners. I want to thank our members for coming and for speaking about your experiences, for sharing your great project with us, because I think being in this forum is about making connections, is about establishing new partnerships and starting conversations that could probably lead to the change that we want to see. So thank you very much for those of you who joined us this morning, and thank you CGIAR and FAO for hosting us at this pavilion. It was a pleasure working with you. Thank you very much to all of our speakers. Thank you.